Hi, this is like take 3. Good afternoon, welcome. So good to see you guys. It's Sherry, welcome. You know the drill for those of you who've seen my videos before. For those of you who haven't, I welcome you. This is the very last video I am doing on this series. I'm summarizing a book called Guinea Pigs by Dr. John Hall. I summarized 4 chapters, and so chapters 2, chapter 4, chapter 6, and now chapter 8. This will be the last video on chapter 8, and then I'm not doing any more on this book I'm pretty much done. These are the main important chapters. So I advise you to buy the book, and I advise you to join me for this last brief summary. So yeah, good afternoon. Okay, nice to see you. I'll be looking at my notes. They're here to my left, so I have to keep doing this. So just FYI. Yeah, so Guinea Pigs, it's a book by Dr. John Hall. It's like I said, I did other videos covering other chapters on the same book. I think you will like it because this book basically covers, in 4 chapters that I reviewed, it covers the history of mind control technology used on non-consensual human experimentation guinea pigs. So random citizens chosen for illegal, covert, non-consensual experimentation, guinea pigs, with society as the laboratory. And it just gets into like the history and everything of MKUltra and how it's been around since the dawn of time, but specifically in an organized fashion since the 50s when it was named MKUltra, stands for mind control. So what the goal is to basically bring mass mind control to the general population, okay? And the satellite-based technology used to do that, okay? Quite fascinating, and it's important to know because if you have a mind, you don't want it controlled, right, by anybody. So this video has valuable information. I know your time is valuable, and so is the information in this video, and it's free information. Okay, it's free from me to you to benefit you. And as we're going into 2019, there's new funding, brand new quarter for this experimentation. So new guinea pigs will be chosen. All right. So stay with me, learn with me. We're only going to go about an hour, okay? And I'll summarize for you what we're going to cover from this chapter. So yeah, the other chapters, chapter 4 covered advanced technology called remote neuromonitoring, which I'll get into a little bit just to review. It's basically the capabilities of technology to read minds. I know it sounds, extreme, but we're in the 21st century, and that capability is among us now. It exists. So I'll explain how, okay? Chapter 6, the phenomenon called organized stalking, that targeted individuals are, guinea pigs, they're often turned into targeted individuals. And usually if you're a guinea pig, you're a targeted individual. And usually if you're a guinea pig, you're, they're both, closely linked. So, and if you're one, then shortly you'll become the other one too. Sometimes you're born in it, sometimes you're randomly chosen. Sometimes somebody puts you in the program purposely out of revenge or, numerous reasons, but it exists. It's called organized stalking. It's like stalking, but in an organized fashion with members of the community in on it, okay, which makes it all the more terrifying and, intense. So we'll talk about, chapter 6 talked about that in detail. I suggest to go look at the video. And here we are, chapter 8, targeted individuals, also called TIs, okay? This is one of the most important chapters, if not the most important chapter, because it brings it all together. The title of the book is Guinea Pigs, and like I said, when you're a guinea pig, you are also a targeted individual. You're targeted because you're non-consensually being experimented on. That's being targeted. That's being a target. Targeted individual. So probably many of you, obviously because these programs are well funded and lots of them, and covert. So you're not going to get a notice in the mail telling you, hi, you've been chosen to be part of this experimentation. They're not going to do that, because that would go against, then you would say no, and that's not an option, according to the people that fund this and run these programs. So that's why I'm here. I want to share a little bit of information with you, okay? We've covered a lot of information so far. This is the last video. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so happy that I got a chance to do it. It's an honor to be able to take all this helpful, beneficial information and share it with you guys, courtesy of the broadcast, right? So technology is wonderful in that way. You know, so I'm excited. Join me. And I'm also a little bit, you know, I'm excited and I'm tired. I'm glad to be finishing it. And I'm also sad because it was so fun. And but that's, you know, there's more books. And there's another one I'm just loving to maybe try to summarize for you guys. That one's a little bit deeper as far as the technology. It goes really into it. So I have to think about it, and I have to go and reread it a couple times and take notes and organize it and see. I'm going to look at it and see if it's a project that I can take on and if I can do justice to it. You know, because when you're summarizing someone's work, it's not hard per se, but it's also, you want to give it the respect due. Okay, I don't want to misquote or you know, this is their information that they researched, and I want to summarize it as they intended it to be, you know, to be understood. So it's a big feat. So join me, would ya? I would love to have you. I'm going to summarize chapter 8 in the book Guinea Pigs by Dr. John Hall. Okay? Guinea pigs, as in human guinea pigs, not the cute squeaky ones. Although us humans, we're cute and sometimes we can be squeaky, but not that kind of guinea pigs. Human guinea pigs used in non-consensual experimentation. It's been going on since the dawn of time. I'll give you some examples I have in the other videos, you know, proof, research that, you know, these things happen. So, and it's still going on. So yeah, your time is valuable. So is this information. Stick with me. All right. I'm going to give you the key points we're going to talk about. We already covered half on the previous video, and now we're just going to finish up. But I'll refresh you here. Here's a list of the key points. I think it's important to have visuals so that you can see what's going on. You know, because somebody can talk, but it's nice to have your own reference. So, yeah, your visual reference. This is what we're going to be covering. Okay, last time we covered what is a TI, targeted individual, the rise of the TIs, meaning, you know, it's a twofold, it's double entendre. It means that they're rising in number, meaning there's a need for more people to be targeted to practice this technology, training, research, and development. But it also means, I think, that there's a rise in awareness of people being TIs. Because for many years, you know, people have been targeted and were not able to, you know, the information was not out there for them. So we're blessed to have this so that, you know, if you become a targeted individual, you want to know. Otherwise, life can be very confusing, and that's not necessary. No, when the answers are here for us. That's how it should be. That's how it is. So, what does Dr. Hall himself, the author, what does he say about being about TIs, targeted individuals, right? He wrote the book. Is he one? I still haven't told you, or have I? I don't know. Do you think he is one since he wrote the book? And then the 6 phases of targeting. We'll find out about that. The 6 phases of targeting. Number 1, selection. Number 2, surveillance. Number 3, overt stalking and harassment. 4, defamation. 5, the attacks. And 6, the monitoring. This is all after you know, step 1, phase 1, selecting the target. Selecting a person to be a target. All right? And from there, it kind of spirals down. But that's okay. It's methodical, so there's a way they go about it. And once you break it down, you'll know what they're doing and what phase that they're in. Okay? And we also covered in the other video who the perps are and whatnot, following the power hierarchy. So we can cover that again. But just, you know, you can just imagine. But I'll explain it. Black psychiatry, otherwise known as dark psychiatry or abusive psychiatry, which is just what it sounds like. Psychiatrists abusing their power and authority and doing things like misdiagnosing people and over-medicating, etc., etc. We can get more into it, but I covered it in the last video. So I recommend going to take a gander at that. Okay. R&M, that's chapter 4, remote neural monitoring. I just revisited it here because that is one of the tactics that they will use when they are attacking targeted individuals with technology. Remote neural monitoring is a advanced form of technology that it basically gives, well, we'll cover it, but it's a highly advanced form of technology that is used on people to monitor their neural activity. And of course, your neural activity is your thoughts and your emotions, your brain, right? Your mind. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Used to be only we knew. Not anymore. There's a way to monitor that. I'll explain. And it's also in the older videos. All right. And then defamation and the scams pulled by the perpetrators. They got a lot of bag of tricks. And if you realize who the perpetrators are and how much money that they have a lot of money to fund these perps. And they have a lot of tactics that they use to accomplish stalking a targeted individual. Basically terrorizing them, torturing them, putting them through trauma-based conditioning. And they're trained in it. So it's very purposeful, it's very methodical. But there is, I will show you some of the ways and some of the scams that they pull so that you can be aware. All right. Stalker laws. There have been laws made to assist with people, to prevent some of this. So we can go over that. There's a very interesting story about a young woman in Texas who unfortunately ended up dying at the hands of her stalker. And their laws were made to prevent that from happening. It's really interesting. I'll go over it, okay? Because I think her voice needs to be heard, and the legislation that was made in her name has really it's really a nice beneficial legislation act, and we could use that in other states as well. So we'll talk about it. Also, let's see, defenses against defamation, right? When they start dragging your name through the mud, slinging mud, you got to learn how to defend yourself. You got to defend your name, right? You only get one. People make mistakes, but what happens in this program is they will exaggerate things and bring things out of context and basically defame you. And that's purposeful because they're targeting you. They want you to be, your name to be defamed. All right. And then also last part is electrical disturbances in the home. Again, this is when you're targeted and, when they're in your area, the things that they will do, in your home it's part of the psyops to kind of make you intimidated or make you feel uneasy. So we'll go over that. It deserves to be talked about. Okay. So we'll review from the last video. Again, this is all chapter 8 though. Chapter 8 on targeted individuals, and we'll talk about the other things we didn't cover in the other video. Okay. All right. Moving on. So previous video, we talked about the rise of the TIs, okay? So new quarter, 2019, it's a first quarter. That means money, okay? For the people at the top of the pyramid, they are funding. They are throwing it out there, making it rain. Who are they making it rain to? Not me. No, various people in that power pyramid that are contracted to run experiments, particularly mind control. That's the name of the game. Don't let anybody fool you with that hypnotist, look over here, sports. It's all about the mind. It truly, truly is. Because the goal is, and always has been, is mass mind control. Because if you can control the mind, and the powers that be know this, you can control the body. Why is the reason that we don't go to war and that we're not enslaved, as a society? Because we'll fight back. Right? I would, you would, we all would when something threatens our, well-being or our freedom. Okay? And they know this. So how do you conquer a civilization, and have them not fight back? Well, where does the fight start? Your body, right? I'm strong, I'm agile. Starts here. So they know this. If they can conquer this, then this falls second place. This is easy. You can take over the whole city, but first you got to get a foot in, right? Foot in the gate. The gate is here. So that's the technology that's being worked on, has been being worked on, and is that they have advanced it to the point where they're committing atrocities with it. But I digress. It's a new quarter, new funding for these black ops programs, mind control based technology, weaponry and testing. So just remember that. And they need more TIs. They can't keep using the same ones. They need maybe a different age group, maybe a different subset. You've got to keep having different guinea pigs. Human, non-consensual guinea pigs, that is. All right, so that was from before. Also, Dr. Hall, who wrote the book, he is a surgeon himself, and he has experienced this phenomenon personally. So, and with that, he actually collected data from other people who were also targeted. And what he found out was a lot of times with the targeting, many times, if not all the times, it ends up in sexual assault, okay? And part of the reason for this is because with mind control technology, you can do things to make people in an altered state, kind of like date rape drugs, okay? But now done instead of, they still use the date rape drugs, but instead of just the physical drugs, there's a lot of things you can do with technology that mimic drugs. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but a lot of in the medical field, it's known that some of the same effects that can be produced with drugs in the body can also be produced with frequencies. Okay, I know it's a funny thought. It's kind of like, well, how? Well, because, and if you think about it, how the brain, the body, and the environment all runs on electromagnetic frequencies. And if, you know, so like each organ in your body, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your, you know, your liver, it all runs, it all vibrates. Each one of those organs and the body as a whole and the mind vibrate on a frequency. Okay, so if you hit that organ, say, with a frequency, you can damage it. You can raise the frequency or you can lower it to, you know, it's supposed to be at a certain amount. Okay, so the same idea with using these, this new kind of technology. You can affect the human brain. You can affect things like the chemical that produces memory. Okay, because thoughts without storing them to your memory box or your memory bank are just thoughts. They're just, you know, here, this, that, this. They have to be stored to become memories. Well, if you have technology that can affect that chemical, acetylcholine, well, boom. You could technically sexually assault a person and hit them with that frequency or that use whatever technology and, you know, get rid of that acetylcholine, and the person has no memory. You got yourself a brand new high-tech date rape drug is what you got. Okay, it used to be they had to get it into your food or drink, right? That's kind of easy to avoid. You just don't eat anything or drink anything or watch it very closely and keep it by you. Not anymore. And they can do all this remotely. So I digress. Anyways, that's what Dr. John Hall, when he interviewed thousands of people who were targeted. He also found a higher rate of women being targeted. Probably there's a correlation. The perps more oftentimes are male, and not always. I'm just saying. But a lot of the victims, the targeted individuals, were female and had experienced sexual assault at some point in the targeting. Okay, so this is very serious because, like I said, new guinea pigs are being chosen, and you don't want this to happen to you. All right. And there's specific examples, you know, of the experiments that have been done before on citizens. So it happens. It's not that they won't do it. They'll do it. They have no qualms about doing it. So if they have no qualms about doing it, then we should have no qualms about talking about it. Okay? That is my point. I'm just going to adjust this here. All right? Okay, good. So yeah, we talked a little bit about the 6 phases. I'm going to show you the paper again so you can have a visual. Okay? The 6 phases of targeting. Okay, and I made a little, the acronym for it is SSSDAM. So SSSDAM, STAM. Okay, the first one we talked about is selection, selecting the target based on different reasons. Also, then the second one is surveillancing them, right? This is when they size you up, when they're running background checks, you know, getting your social security number, talking to your friends and family, all without your knowledge, of course. That's, you know, they're sizing you up for when later, phase 3, when they actually start stalking you. Okay, then they know exactly how to hurt you emotionally and physically if they, you know, but basically how to traumatize you, trauma-based conditioning through, you know, because they learned everything in phase 2. All right, phase 4, defamation. This is when they slander your name. They defame you. They gossip about you. They make your name sound horrible. No matter everything good that you've done, they won't mention a thing of that. Only bad stuff. Okay, because they're doing something. It's methodical. They're following this to break you down. Your target to them. All right, phase 5, attacks. This is when you get direct energy attacks and all other kind of attacks. Sexual assault. This is usually when that happens. You know, in the later stages. Because first they got to select you, then they got to find out all about you. Right, step 2, and then step 3. Then they start stalking you, and then, you know, defame you. Then the attacks start. You know, both physical, sexual, and emotional. Definitely. Well, emotional goes on the whole time, starting from, you know, phase 3. But yeah, so that's what happens. That's what it leads up to. And then phase 6, which is monitoring. Meaning usually when you're picked to be a target in this program, it doesn't end. You're always monitored and you're, you know, till the grave. You know, usually when programs sign you up to be in this program, you don't get off the program. So you see how serious it is, huh? All right, I just want to show you some pictures here. Again, we're talking about guinea pigs, human ones. You notice the lady in the cage with the little water bottle and with the hospital gown. She doesn't look happy. I don't think any of us would be if we were, you know, aware that we're guinea pigs. So, and it looks like, excuse me, it looks like Time did a piece on this. Human guinea pigs. And yes, they exist. Why would somebody pick human guinea pigs? Don't we have monkeys and rats and, you know, animal testing for that? Yeah, but if you're testing mind control, there's only so much you can do on a rat or a monkey or a, you know, a dog or something. You want human minds. We can actually think and have a conscience. We think on a higher level. Animals don't. So why do they do this? For training, research, and development. Okay, and that mass mind control. Okay, training, research, and development because it's very much military-industrial complex based and paramilitary. So this is what they call it. They're testing out their weapons, their technology weapons. Okay, and they're they want to see how all this works. You got to practice on people. So what happens to the poor people that are picked? The name of this chapter: targeted individuals. Okay, just walk around like this. You're no longer you. You're a target. Just put one of these on your back, right? You're a target. It's not good, and it's also not legal. However, it happens, so that's why we're here talking about it. All right, so the 6 phases, like I said, phase 1, they select you for a myriad of reasons, usually at the local level. Local meaning state, city, county, things like that. And they select you, they have demographics they go off of. If they need 1 million females in Milwaukee County and they need a certain, demographic that, from the ages of this to this height, this weight, just demographics because it's training, research, and development. That's one way you can get selected. You can also get selected if, people put you on the list for revenge purposes or whatever. You can get selected, okay? But for the major part, it's at the local level. So watch who you're, again, state, city, county. That's who's going to get you on the list to be a guinea pig, to be a targeted individual. All right. Universities are the ones that collect the data, usually. The agencies at the top levels, which many times are universities doing this research. Okay. Like we talked about in the book, he talks about how Stanford received a $338,000 contract in 1972. That was just one of many universities. And they're working big time on making 5G happen. Okay, 5G is it's pretty serious. It's, again, the goal is to have mass mind control. So while we're living our lives, they're working on this. So just don't forget it. Don't be afraid of it, but don't forget it. You see a lot of cable trucks around all the time. I mean, goodness gracious, are they that concerned about our entertainment, our viewing? They really want to make sure we get all our videos and everything on time. And, no, it's more serious than that. So just be aware. There's a reason you see a cable truck every time you leave your home, probably. And probably, what, 10 in a day, 15? When I was younger, you didn't see that many. And I understand we're living in technologically advanced times, but I think we're pretty advanced now. We got everything, right? We got social media. We have, we can watch entertainment. Everything's good. This would be a good place to stop, right? I'm happy. But it's not stopping. We're going towards mass mind control. Okay, I digress. So that was phase 1 where you get selected. Phase 2, surveillance. That's where they're sizing you up. They're looking at things, background checks, credit checks. They're tampering with your mail, your email. They're observing you directly. They'll have people doing it, and electronically, on your computer. They'll send you emails they want you to have. They'll maybe delete emails they don't want you to have. I mean, in one of my situations, I had gone to get a background check for a new job, for an additional job, and the hiring person asked me, you've had a lot of background checks in the past year, like 5 or 6. There's really a lot. And I thought, and I hadn't done anything. I hadn't applied anywhere or needed a background check. So somebody else was doing it on me. Okay, and one of them was a private investigation agency. So that was something that tipped me off to something was not quite right. Nobody needs that many background checks, especially if I'm not the one requesting them. Who's requesting them and why? Okay, so pay attention to that kind of stuff. That's phase 2, surveillance. Okay, sizing you up. They go through your life with a fine-tooth comb. They want to know everything. They want to know where you live, where do you work, where do you bank, who's your friends, who's your family. Because when they want to sabotage you, they know where you're going to go to for help, and they can try to sabotage those ahead of time. Again, this is military, psychological operations, right? Break down the target, and one of the ways to break you down is to destroy your support system, right? Like in in warfare, blow up the bridge so they can't cross the bridge. Same thing, blow up that bridge of relationships so that when the person needs to go there, they'll have a harder time. So keep those bridges intact, all right? It's hard, but keep it as much as it's within your control, all right? So yeah, they like to destroy relationships. That'll be phase 2. They also approach them in this phase. They'll have perps, sometimes with fake fraudulent, fraudulent paperwork and whatnot and badges, and they'll have them go to your family and friends and tell them that you're under things like an investigation. I just want to show you this picture. It's January, National Stalking Awareness Month. Okay, just so you know, and this is if you're a targeted individual, you're going to be stalked in an organized fashion. So you need to know that, and that's why it's good that we're making an awareness of it. That's one of the solutions to fixing it, is to be aware of it. All right, there was a program run by the FBI back in the 50s, and it was called COINTELPRO. That stands for Counterintelligence Operations. We talked about that in the other video, and that's basically they're the ones who were organizing the stalking of different people, Hemingway, Martin Luther King, basically people they deemed threats. Even if the people were not threats per se, if they deemed them that, they would target them in an organized fashion. Okay, and that was the name. It's an actual program, counterintelligence program run by the FBI, which later they were found guilty of, by using that program, trying to, what am I trying to say? Trying to stop the practice of First Right Amendments, free speech, right to associate with whom we deem appropriate, right? But they were running programs to prevent that, harassing people, stalking people in an organized fashion, using all their manpower and their deep pockets and their affiliations and their training to target whomever they wanted to. All right, so that's why this is important, organized stalking, targeted individuals. Yeah, and again, that is a program, COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program, was an FBI program. Now, MKUltra, as you heard, was a CIA-run program, mind control program, and then they said that was closed down, supposedly in the 70s. No, they just renamed it. It's now named Project Monarch, allegedly. Okay? Project Monarch, because the whole point is that you will one day, after all this trauma and mind control, you're a little caterpillar struggling, but eventually you'll blossom into a monarch butterfly and fly off into the sunset or something and live a wonderful life. But we know that's not correct. It's a mind control program. They're trying to institute slavery on a mass scale. So no, there's nothing monarch butterfly about it. It's mind control. They might as well have kept the same name, but I see they had to change it. It only makes sense, right? You can't, that would maybe alert the people if you have a program called mind control. It was actually in the documents and everything. So, Project Monarch, that sounds a little bit less sinister, but it still is. It's the same program, different name, right? Okay, same bat time, same station. All right, so again, who's involved in this organized stalking? Right? Me and you and everyone we know. Okay, we all fall in this. We're all living together in society. So at any point, any one of us can become guinea pigs, targeted individuals, and we can be targeted by others. Okay, it's a very real, phenomenon. So, and it's kind of sad that it's got to be like that, because it shouldn't be that way. But maybe because there's not enough awareness, right? And we're humans. We just tend to follow and take orders sometimes when they are not, when we shouldn't be. Okay, something to think about. I digress. All right, so that was phase 1 and 2. Okay, we talked the last time in my other video about abusive psychiatry. That's where you have, psychiatrists giving false diagnoses and whatnot. Like the movie Gaslight, you guys should really check it out. It's where the husband is trying to get the wife, committed into an institution because she has money, he married her, she's rich, and he would like to leave her for a younger, for the maid, his mistress, but he still wants her money and the home and everything, because that came with her. So you couldn't just do that in the old days. You couldn't divorce and the property be, so that was one of the tricks that they would use. Get somebody fraudulently diagnosed, and then they're out wherever they're at, in the, crazy at the crazy institution, and then the person, the husband or the wife, this could happen to, could continue on in their life and have the house and have the cars and have everything, and be living their new life with their new person, all the while the other person is stuck somewhere. So that's abusive psychiatry. That is a wonderful movie, Gaslight. If you get a chance to see it, I highly recommend it. It's in black and white. It's an old one. It's worth your time, though. That's where the term comes from. You ever hear "don't gas me"? Gaslight, don't gas me. And it's gaslight because in the old days they didn't have electrical lights, they had the gas. They had to actually go light them. So one of the ways he was making her think she was crazy was by playing with the gas lights so they would flicker. You know, electrical disturbances in the home, which we'll cover in this, okay? But yeah, playing with stuff like that, and she didn't know, and you know, she was thinking she was going crazy. She didn't though. And then in the end she got help. I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but it has a good ending. Relatively good. So, but check it out, because that's a prime example of abusive psychiatry. Okay, someone attempting to use abusive psychiatry. All right. Also, too, the book talks in chapter 4. There's a whole chapter devoted to RNM, which is remote neural monitoring. Oh, one more with the pictures. Why again are they doing this program? Okay, it's quite simply for this. Okay, you see the pyramid at the top, you see the pair of hands, you see the individuals are puppets, right, being moved by the hands, not of their own accord, they're attached. Okay, and that's the brain. So if you can, someone at the top can control the brain, you can control the bodies of people and their whole, who they are. Okay, again, this is very serious subject matter. The name of the old program was MK Ultra. M for mind, K for control. It's K because it's the German K instead of the English C. So, because it was carried over here from World War II, which of course was in Germany. So a lot of those people, you know, the operatives that were working over there, the soldiers, the scientists, the researchers, the engineers, they had done a lot of mind control research on the POWs, right? The Jewish prisoners of war. Didn't matter that they were Jewish, didn't matter that the other people were German. Doesn't matter, it was just people, you know, one set of people trying to hurt another set of people. But in this case, they were German, so mind control, K for the German K, right? Brought over here. Mind control, MK Ultra. But I digress. Again, they do this all for trauma-based conditioning. That's how a lot of the mind control programs are run. And when you're being a targeted individual and you are getting stalked, they will traumatize you any way that they can. Verbal abuse, insults, verbal aggression, and then sexual assault. You know, some people have even been killed in this program, depending on how far it gets and who your perps are and what they're targeting you for, how much information you know, what they want to get out, what they don't want to get out. So, again, they are targeting this. The wonderful, beautiful brain. Very important. They want it at all costs. They want control of this. This is us. This is what makes us us. All your dreams, all your hopes, all your aspirations, what makes you you, your unique sense of humor, your unique way of looking at things. Nobody in the world is like you or me, right? We're all different. That's a wonderful gift God gave to us. You know, we're in sync, but we're all different, as we should be, right? We're not carbon copies. We each have that's a blessing to have our own personalities, and they're housed here. The powers that be want control of that. All right? Our job is to avoid that. How do we do that? By getting knowledge. Okay, so with technology, that's one of the ways that they're trying to accomplish this, mass mind control. Okay, remote neural monitoring. Just to reiterate, it's a satellite-based technology. Chapter 4 covers this. But what it is, let's see. Well, there's other things too that are used, like direct energy. Energy is, things like frequencies, how we're doing this broadcast. That's a form of energy. Also, frequencies are in our brains when we think a thought or when we feel an emotion. Frequencies are in our bodies when we move a body part. That can be measured in a frequency. So, radio operates on frequencies. TV operates on frequencies. Again, computers, cell phones run off of frequencies. Now, they're invisible. You can't see the actual waves, right? Frequency waves. You can't see the signals, but we know they're there because the devices are working, okay? So that's called direct energy. It's a form of energy, usually invisible, okay? It can be measured in everything, but for the most part, invisible and powerful, okay? Powerful. It's also a way to make psychotronic weapons. Which psychotronic weapons, as the name states, it's a weapon used against your mind with frequencies. That's kind of easy to do, considering that the brain, every time you think a thought or feel an emotion, that's a frequency, okay? The brain is, we think of it like an organ, this one, which it is, okay? It's this, very much, And then it's also this on another level, on the inside, the inner workings, right? It's electrical, chemical as well. So again, frequency, when you think thoughts or feel emotions, that's all frequencies, and it can all be measured. And they've been working on that since the 70s. Look at Chapter 4, Remote Neural Monitoring. It goes into detail how it was developed, because what they were looking for was to do BCI. BCI is brain-computer interface, which is just like it sounds. It's interfacing a human brain with a computer, okay? Linking them. Like Bluetooth. Picture Bluetooth. You know, you can link your computer to your phone to another phone. You can also do, ideally, the human brain to a computer. Why? Because the human brain runs off of frequencies, so does computers, right? Think of it like a soldier when they get a new arm. They lost an arm in battle, you know, or through disease, whatever. They get a chip implanted, and then that chip can send the signal to the limb, the arm, or the leg to move. How is that possible? Because the brain, when it thinks, is making a frequency, and that frequency signal sends a signal to the muscle, or in this case, to the prosthetic limb that, has a chip, and they're interfacing. They're talking. They're Bluetoothing. Okay? So, and that can all be done remotely. Okay? So the brain is a big computer. A big, wonderful supercomputer. Yeah, and it runs off of these. Again, my favorite word for 2018 was EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. I'll tell you what my new one for 2019 is. I have a new favorite word. I love it already. I'll tell you later though. Okay, anyways. Electromagnetic frequencies, okay? That means, just to reiterate for emphasis, not that you guys aren't smarties, because I know that you are, every thought and every emotion turns out to be an electromagnetic frequency. Every one. And they can be read remotely by a machine called an electroencephalogram. Okay? So it can be read, your thoughts and emotions. Why is that important? Well, because thoughts and emotions equal behaviors. Okay, so again, I'll give you the same example. I feel like I have important information to share. That's the thought. I will make a video. That's the behavior. It's observable. Okay, first, before I could make the video, though, I had to have the thought even to do so. Right? Okay, same thing with an emotion. I feel happy, so I'm going to sing. Okay, the behavior would be singing. It's an observable behavior. But before I started singing, I started the motion of feeling happy. Right? So, if you can affect the thoughts and behaviors of humans' minds, you can then affect their behaviors. Making mind control. And again, that's because the body works on frequencies. This is the body in 3 different forms. Okay, this is your skeletal flesh and bones, right? This is the one we're used to thinking of when we think of the body. Then you have this one, which is your electrical chemical, right? All the running from the spinal cord, central nervous system. It goes to each and every part of the body so that the body can move, right? The part can move. But don't forget about this one, because this is how the mind control technology is being used, because it targets our frequency part of our body. That's, again, each thought is a frequency, an actual frequency that can be measured. Same thing with emotion, can be measured. Same thing every time we move a body part. That's a frequency. Each organ, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, that's all frequencies, okay? So don't forget about this one, because this is, we tend to think of when we think of the body, this one, and we think of this one a little bit with medications and whatnot, but this one, this is what we haven't talked about enough, and that's how they are using advanced technology for mind control to target frequencies. In fact, there's a quote from Tesla. Says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay? Because again, all thoughts are frequencies. All human organs and the body vibrate with certain frequencies for health. Tesla knew that. What a smart guy, hey? Like to see his EEG readings. My goodness. I like to be around smart people, don't you? Don't you just feel like by osmosis? I do believe it works somehow like that, because you're absorbing their knowledge, because usually they share it, and just, it's an interesting way, we can sharpen each other. We're humans, we're made so different. We each have so many different experiences, and we can share with each other, and it just makes it, makes it wonderful. Love being around smart people and reading their works. All kinds of people. But smart people really are, really are interesting. Okay, so again, remote neural monitoring. That's remotely, from a distance, monitoring the neural activity of a human brain. Okay, so that's in layman's terms, that's mind reading. Because why? What is neural activity? That's your thoughts and emotions, your literal thoughts, any thought, any emotion. They're monitoring that. That can be monitored. They have a way to read out exactly what it is. Because they've been studying for years now. This is 2019. They were studying this back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Okay, so they've come far. Let's see. This is again from all last time. If you guys wanted to do some research on COINTELPRO program, there was a senator who was the one who, when the FBI, when it was brought to the public's attention, his name was Frank Church. And there was hearings done on this because of the FBI doing all this. It's called the Church Committee hearings, okay? So if you're interested and you want to know more about that, you can make that maybe your, Church Committee hearings. If you're interested, you can make that a topic of research, okay? Here's a picture of a neuron, right? So if you took the brain and you scraped it like a cell underneath a microscope, it would look like this with all those dendrites and everything. That's, they fire with each other each time you think a thought. So like medications that are anti-anxiety or even uppers, you know, if you need more energy, a lot of times it works on the neurons, okay? So to make certain ones fire or to make certain ones not fire, you know, overfire too much if they're, whatever the issue you're trying to control is or trying to address. Quite fascinating. I don't know a lot about it, but I know the general idea. That's all you need to know. You can make it a topic of research if you feel like it, but just know that that's what remote neural monitoring means. They're monitoring the neural activity. All right, so again, with those 6 phases, hang on, let me look for where I had it here. I got 2 piles of visual cues. One set I'm not going to use again. The other set I'm going to keep referring to. Okay, there we go. 6 phases of targeting. We talked about selection, surveillance, and then out stalking, right? We talked about that in the last video. Defamation, we talked about that in the last video, and then the attacks. That's what we're going to get to. But again, before we get to that, just to cover the technology, because that is what's being used, I want to show you a picture of brain-computer interface, artist interpretation. This is what it would look like. You know, picture Stephen Hawking, and I even worked for, you know, a company where the boy had a chip in his eye, and but he couldn't talk or walk. So when he wanted to say something, all he would have to do is think of the thought, and the chip in his eye interfaced with the computer on his wheelchair and allowed him to say what he wanted to say. What a blessing. Otherwise, he would not have been able to communicate. So it also moved his wheelchair. So brain-computer interface can be very helpful. And some other things with technology. Oh, remember, this can all be done in real time, which is nice. There's no little overlap. You don't have to wait. As soon as you think a thought, poof, it can be, the computer has it. Okay? Brain-computer interface. It's a wonderful thing when used for good. It's also a very dangerous thing if you wanted to use it for nefarious purposes. All right? Then there's nanotechnology. This is also a good area to research. Nanotechnology, as I understand it, operates off of the atoms in, you know, in the human body and around us. So with the atoms, I guess you can do lots of things. You can directly address the DNA with frequencies. Very powerful. What would you want to be doing? I don't know, depending on whoever's sending it. What would they want to do? Okay, this is actual picture of a chip, so you can get an idea of how tiny these things are. You don't have to have chips anymore thanks to nanotechnology because they can go straight off your DNA. But if they need chips for certain things, they can still use them. And this is how small they are. Like, look at that, you know, your fingernail size. Which is why I said in my other video how, you know, it's possible when dentists can install those things and implant those, you know, because they're so tiny and they don't hurt very much. You know, when you're in for surgery, it'd be an easy way to get it in. I mean, you got to figure, guys, they've been running these programs for many years, so it's now advanced where they can do it off the DNA. But, you know, some maybe older companies might still be using the chips and stuff. So, just to get a visual. All right, we talked about some of the technology can act on acetylcholine, used for date rape drugs and for erasing memories, right? You've seen Men in Black, look in this little light, poof, then they'd forget everything. Okay, that's because it works on erasing this chemical from the brain, stopping its production, right? And we know that that can be done with medication. For instance, right, with insulin. Insulin works on, oh goodness, don't quote me, but right, insulin helps to absorb the blood sugar, okay? and lots of medicines. Just medicines in general, they can stop the production of certain chemicals, okay, just by acting on however it is that they work. But this chemical is responsible for storing memories. Your thoughts are just thoughts until they're stored, and this is the chemical that helps store them. So if you want to make somebody not able to remember an event, you work on this. Okay, it's used in a lot of date rape drugs like roofies and GHB. Okay, so yeah, frequencies can do that. Frequencies can also harm the body and do things like this, cause hearing loss, you know, nausea, headaches, balance issues. I mean, that's in a nice way, but they can do other things as well. That's just a little tidbit of what they can do. And again, these EMFs, they're all up in our environment, okay? They're in the towers, they're in the drones, they're in our homes, right? Through the computer, through the radio, through the TV. You know, we are just saturated with it all in our environment. And they're constantly putting up more towers, right? Now they got the fiber optic cables underneath the inside of the earth, right? Running underground. We're surrounded, okay? It's all frequencies. So you can imagine, of course, that's how, you know, that's how the weaponry is being worked. All you have to do is manipulate the frequencies in the human brain. And why? Because the brain is kind of like this, right? Look at this guy. Look at that, right? That's the signal you see like on your computer, right? For signal. Signal, frequencies, waves, same, different terminology, but the same meaning. Okay, so the brain is a giant antenna, just pulling in signals. It doesn't know any better. It's just trying to absorb. We're humans. We want to absorb our environment. But what's happening is that they found a way to imitate human thoughts and emotions, because it's a frequency, and send it back in to the person. So what that means is you could get a thought or emotion and you don't know, your brain doesn't know that it's not its own. It's sent in. That is the scary part, you see? That is the part where I believe it's going over civil rights. Don't send anything into my brain that I didn't come up with, right? I think we all feel the same. Don't play with my brain. Do you mind? Don't play with my brain. Don't play with my body. Don't touch me. You know, and if you do it, well, you know, come on now. There's a stopping point. But, of course, no stopping point. We're going forward, right? 2019, first quarter, more funding, more black ops operations, right? We're doing so well. Mind control, we're not stopping till we get total mind control of the masses. And we're close, right? So who's doing all this? We talked about this before. Follow the pyramid, right? The pyramid of perps. Follow the money trail up at the top. You know, you got a lot of stuff going on. You got corporations, you got secret societies, you got government. Not everybody in the government, you know, but factions of it. There's people from every group here that are good and bad. But we're obviously the people that are running these type of programs for nefarious purposes are bad. The government has different levels, right? Federal, state, local, your city, your county. Universities who get the funding to do these, they're usually state funded, right? Organized crime syndicates, you know, you got the mob, you got Jewish mob, everybody talks about the Italian mob a lot, but there's also other mobs. There's Russian mobs, there's Jewish mobs, there's Asian mobs, there's all kinds of mobs. Organized crime, okay? And then you got your local street gangs. They're in there too. So just remember that we're talking about the pyramid. In the last video we talked about, what did we talk about? Oh, the defamation and the smear campaign and all that they use. That's in the, what is that? That's in the 4th phase. Yeah, SSS. The first one is selection, then surveillance, then stalking, then defamation. That's your 4th one. Okay, that's when they start the bogus investigations. We need to keep an eye on your neighbor, da-da-da-da-da. They don't. A lot of times they'll even lie about who they are. They'll say they're, you know, with an agency, right? They'll flash you one of these. I'm detective such and such, I'm officer such and such, and they might or might not be. In Dr. Hall's situation, as you'll hear him say, an FBI, the people who were stalking him, it was a private investigative agency, and the guy that owned it used to be an FBI agent, so, you know, retired or whatnot, used to be. Doesn't work there anymore, should not be representing, but they were. You know, and of course, you know, it's like if you work somewhere and you worked there for a long time, you can kind of talk the talk because you know, because you did work there, but you don't anymore. So be careful of these, you know, fraudulent IDs. You know, make sure you question and do your research on laws of surveillance, you know, state, local, federal laws, so that you don't get caught in the midst of this giving, you know, and when people are targeted individuals, this is what they're going to pull out to convince you that they have the right to be targeting that person, when many times they don't. They're just harassing them. Okay, so be aware of that. And of course, as I always say, there's good and bad in every place, and even the highest of, you know, agencies, paramilitary, have corrupt people. So they could indeed be working for these agencies and still be a corrupt person. Just because they have a, you know, just because they work somewhere doesn't mean that that changes who they are fundamentally inside. You know, so what, they're FBI agent? Maybe they're a crooked one. So what, they're a police officer? Okay, wonderful, give them respect. Maybe they're a crooked one. Maybe they're a crooked lawyer. Who knows? Be aware. All right, ostentation we talked about. That's where you start acting out because the targeted individual during the stalking process is being rung through the ringer. They're getting it everywhere. They're getting stalked up and down, left and right, at work, at home, many times even things like sexual assault. That will cause ostension, which is the person acting out. You know, so you'll see them, you know, trying to defend themselves, you know, yelling, talking, you know, acting out. But remember, if you're seeing weird behaviors from somebody in public or with your friends and family circle or anywhere, you know, even someone you don't know, and many times we'll say, oh, they're just, you know, they're just kind of crazy, or they're just a bad person. No, there's usually a trigger for behaviors, usually, more than likely, you know, and I know this from working in mental health and working in nursing homes and everything, you know, with behaviors, with dementia, things like dementia, people get behaviors, you know, they'll start rummaging through stuff or wanting to get up, or, you know, maybe being aggressive, you know, but it's usually not for no reason. There is a reason. I didn't say whether it's a good reason or bad reason, but there's a reason. And usually if you fix the trigger, then you can fix the behavior. Okay, so before you jump to conclusions, oh, that person's acting up, the next question you should ask yourself, why? What behavior is triggering that other behavior? And then a lot of times you'll find your answer. Okay, again, the power pyramid, sometimes somebody like this at the top, this is, you know, this is Mr. Burns off The Simpsons. He represents elite class. He's not based off anybody in particular, but, you know, that's what he stands for. That's the show. You know, his little thing. Excellent. Sitting right at the top of the pyramid with lots of money. Then you got your low-level perps, right? They're kind of sick. They just want to be obsessed with you and what's going on in your life and what you're doing. Don't want to, you know, they're just into it. You know, that's the ring, as it were. They want that power. The ring would be a symbolism of power and control, and that's what they want. They want power and control over you at any cost. Many times it's people with the least power that want power and control over others. Okay, you'll hear that sometimes with serial killers. You know, why did you go and kill all those women? Why did you go and kill those people? Not to say just women. Why did you kill those men and women? Why did you do that? Because they didn't have any power. You know, and they were craving it. And, you know, maybe a chip on their shoulder. So be careful. Okay, that's perps. Okay, we talked about those kind of perps. There's these kind of perps too. Smiling faces with medical degrees. Okay, well, sometimes, again, the uniform, that doesn't change the person. You give uniformed people respect, of course, always. And you also be aware, just because you're, you know, there was that case, was on Dr. Oz the other day. African doctor was OBGYN, you know, being sexually inappropriate with his patients, taking video footage of them and their private areas. I mean, imagine that, you know, and he had like hours and hours of footage, and he did it with a hidden camera in his office. And some of the women said they felt funny and they should have stopped the procedure, but you know how that goes. Sometimes you get yourself, you know, you just, you know, you hope it's not happening, but it does, and you don't know how to react. So, but he was a doctor, an OBGYN, African guy. So don't let these uniforms fool you. Okay, respect them, but also don't be afraid to question them. They signed a Hippocratic oath that they're supposed to stick to. But then you have to ask yourself, what other oaths did they sign? Are they part of a secret society organization? So that oath trumps their Hippocratic oath? Something important to know. Also, perps. I just like this picture because it kind of sums it up. You know, there's Rick Grimes off of The Walking Dead, and there's all the zombies, right? They're after his brain. They're after everybody's brains. And this is, to me, is a representation of perps, because when perps get in the perp mode and they're taking orders, you know, from people at the top, and they're no longer thinking regular human beings, they just get into attack mode. Very animalistic. So, you know, when you picture perps in full-blown mode, this is what they appear to be like, you know. And poor Rick, but look at him, he's sitting there, he's fighting it, right? That's what we have to be like. And again, with perps, there's a lot of them. They operate off of something called the hive mind. That's their literal term that they like to use in the... Oh, hang on a second. Okay. Thought the battery was dying or something. The color changed or something on this video. But yeah, hive mind, okay? You see the bees to the hive, right? Whole bunch of worker bees. So perps like to refer to themselves as being on the hive mind. At least in the upper levels, that's their lingo. Hive mind. And they take it as like it's a good thing. And it could be. If you're doing the good for all, like a hive mind idea is great. Because you can help a lot of people, right? If we're all sitting there working towards the same goal. But see, the problem is that it's mass mind control. So to me, that's not a hive. I don't want to be part of that hive mind. I don't want to help, target somebody else, for trauma-based conditioning program, to hurt them, to help society get on a mass mind control. I don't want to do that, and I don't think a lot of people would, but it's a lot of psychology and it's a game of deception that's used. You're only getting half the truth. It's deception. So we have to be aware. How do we do that? Through things like this. That's all we can do, and it's good enough. It's good. That's the first step to anything, is becoming aware of it. At least we're naming the problem. Half the battle. Okay, so let's just, 6 phases of targeting. Okay, attacks. Yeah, I wanted to get into attacks specifically, like the sexual attacks and the direct energy attacks, but I think I'm going to have to make a whole separate video on that, because that's very much technology, and there's, I'm going to do a whole separate video on the attacks. But just know that with this technology, specifically satellite-based frequency EMF technology, that it can, because remember, our brains work on frequencies, our bodies work on frequencies from the brain to move each body part, and the whole environment, including the earth itself, has an electromagnetic field. So the way that mind control technology is used as a weapon is thoughts can be sent into you, and emotions to override your own, or it can scramble your own, or in things like acetylcholine, stop the production of certain chemicals with frequencies, like your memory chemical, to store your thoughts into memories. So there's a whole bag of tricks that they got with this technology. I have to do a whole video on that, a whole separate video just on technology. I've covered some of it before, like the SSS. Check out that video. It's a good one. It's a silent subliminal sound machine, how they made a machine, a frequency modulator, FM, just like your radio, but it can send a message directly into your subconscious with hidden in the frequency. So your regular ear will only hear the tone, the boom, but your actual subconscious will hear the message embedded inside of the frequencies. And when your subconscious brain hears a message, it tends to obey and respond. Okay, so if you don't know that there's a message coming into you, you think it's tinnitus. Oh, my ears are ringing. It could be someone using a silent subliminal sound machine on you. Horrifying, because again, what are they putting in there? What are they putting in there? Usually nothing healthy, I would have to say. Okay, but yeah, I'll do a whole separate video just on the technology used in attacks on targeted individuals. Okay, and then the last phase is monitoring. Well, yeah, so... all right, let's talk about it a little bit, attacks. I can't get specific, but you understand that it's EMF based. And if you, for instance, if you have a ray gun, it's invisible, first of all, so the targeted individual won't know that it's being used on them. But it can do things like cause muscle twitching, because again, it's a signal. Okay, so you'll get little, muscle twitches all over the body. Can make your facial muscles twitch, your arm muscle, your leg muscle, everything. You can get headaches, right? If you have a microwave beamed at your brain, you'll end up with a headache, which is what I have right now. But it's okay. It's okay. This video is important, and I'm glad it's the last one. I'm excited for new ones. I'm so happy you guys are getting this, and it's beneficial. You're so smart. I knew that you would be. I knew that you would respond to this, and I knew that you would get it, and it's good. Good for you. Good for us. Good for us. We're putting up a fight. We're not going to go down, right? Not easily anyways, right? God loves us. We have a right to be here too, without our minds played in. So, yeah. So energy attacks, again, energy is frequency, the things that run our phones, the things that run our broadcasts on our computers and our devices, how our bodies, our brains, and the environment, those all work off of EMFs, and they affect the body, and they can affect physiological functioning, the brain, because the brain and the body runs off of them. So they can do things like use sleep deprivation. Sure, because with the remote monitoring, they can tell when your brain goes into exactly the sleep state. So, and again, this is psychological operations, psyops. The Army uses it. Military. If you want to make the sleep deprivation is one way to target the enemy. Okay, and when you're targeted, you become an enemy. Okay, and again, this is for training, research, and development. So say the military has a new technology they want to go use on the enemy overseas, but before they can use it on the enemy in the midst of battle, they got to test it out first, man. You can't go get on battle and try to use it and it doesn't work. You better test it on your guinea pigs first. Who's your guinea pigs? A regular pig? A monkey? A rat? No. I'm going to go over that list too of past experiments, just a little bit of it, because you'll understand it's been done in the past and it's continuing to be done. There's nothing that's slowed it down. They do, however, try to be more covert with it, because as we get smarter, you know, as we let them know we're not handing it, then they have to make it more, you know, secretive, which is what this technology makes it so scary, because energy is invisible. You know, this broadcast is running off of a frequency, right? When you pick up your cell phone, which everybody has one mostly, and you can call to China on that thing. You can call to, you know, across the country. There's no wires. How are you making the call? Through signals, right? So, I mean, what an amazing piece of technology, you know, that is used. So the same type of technology is used as psychotronic weapons on our minds and our bodies. That's all they're using. Signals. So yeah, there is a signal called, with a weapon, it's called caffeine jolts. Okay, like you know, you get a jolt of caffeine and you wake up. So what can happen if you're targeted when you're in your sleep state? They'll target your brain activity to wake you up out of a sound sleep, you know, when your body's just, you know, when you reach that point and you're like, yay, I'm going to sleep, and then boom, you're up. Okay, so that's one of the signs, and that's one of the things that they can do. Sleep interference, sleep deprivation, right? Because you're an enemy now, you're targeted for whatever, training, research, and development. They want to see how this stuff works. They're running experiments. How do people act when they're sleep deprived? How long can a person survive being sleep deprived? They've been running these kind of experiments since forever. So that's some of the things that the energy attacks can do. One way to describe energy attacks, the weapons used, it's called direct energy weapons. And again, energy is just a fancy way of saying frequencies, like with the phones, like with the broadcast, Wi-Fi, signals. That's direct energy. And weapons is when you weaponize it, right? Like a knife, a butter knife, it's used to butter something, a piece of bread, but it can become a weapon if you use it as such, right? Same thing with direct energy. It's not technically a weapon, right? Not really, but you can weaponize it if you use it on someone, okay? So, and that's called DEWs, D-E-Ws. I meant to write that down, but just, you know, for your own purpose, make sure you remember that. Direct energy weapons, okay? DEWs, as in Mountain Dew. Direct energy weapons. So yeah, it can affect your body, it can affect your mind. So, and the reason that they use this in the last phase, the attack phase, is because they're trying to annihilate your whole life at this point, okay? They are trying to have complete annihilation of your personal and professional life. Okay, so for instance, if they use sleep deprivation on you, you're tired, you're starting to look tired, you know, for those of us at a certain age, you know, you need your beauty sleep, okay? When you don't get it, you know, you start looking tired. And then what if you're in the process, you want to go on dates and things like that? Well, you got to have energy. Oh my goodness, I remember being younger and having more energy because of being younger. But I also remember, you know, before all this came to play, having just more energy, period. You know, being able to go to school, go to work, and get everything done, and still be able to function and whatnot, and get a good night's sleep. You know, I remember that. That was so long ago. Being able to lay down and take a shower and be clean in my apartment with my kitchen and my everything, and just be comfortable and be able to, you know, to live and get a good night's sleep and wake up and function more or less. And, you know, but again, the goal of this phase is complete annihilation of the victims, the targeted individuals' personal and professional life. So this will continue until the perps are diverted, stopped, or hired to target someone else. Okay, so that's sad all around. I mean, if they stop, that's great. If they're diverted, that's great. But if they're hired to target somebody else, that's good for the targeted person. But oh my goodness, now who are you targeting? That's not a solution. That's still not good. No, that's not good. You know, oh great, I'm left alone because now you're targeting this poor woman. No. That's the goal of this phase, okay? So remember, new contracts are going out. You know, and so they're needing new guinea pigs all the time. And some of us are aging out, you know what I mean? If you're using this program for sexual assault, maybe, you know, you reach a certain age, or you've had, you know, they've had their fill of you, then they're going to move on. You know, are they going to stop? A lot of these perps, no, I mean, some of them, yeah, but I mean, at the top, they're Luciferian worshiping. Are they stopping? No. In fact, Lucifer is angry, and because he knows he has a short period of time to cause as much chaos as possible. So no, he's not stopping. And Jehovah's people are not either. You know, so this is this is battle. You know, battle royale. And it, you know, so just remember, new guinea pigs all the time. All the time. So in most cases, once a target is chosen to be a guinea pig, no matter what reason, you know, most times just because there's a program being run, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? You think you know the whole story. Oh, this story starts many times when you're in the womb. You know, these programs have been running since the dawn of time. And many times it's generational. If your parents or your grandparents were targeted, then you will be. You're born into it. You know, generational. Many times. So yeah, many times you're picked and you're targeted until death. Okay? Or your untimely death. So yeah, the really sad part is that many people are part of the program and don't actually know it. They don't know it because this kind of stuff is not talked about. Some people think that they're mentally ill. You know, this stuff is happening. If you watch the, you know, the video on chapter 8, all the stuff, the psyops that's done on people. And oh, can you imagine before the knowledge of technology? You know, people were complaining of things that are actually capable, but at the time, the public didn't know that. For instance, there's, with microwaves, you can send audio, not the SSS, that's silent subliminal sound. That's where you'll never actually hear the voice. You know, you'll just hear the sound. Your subconscious will hear the voice, but you won't. Microwaves is when you can actually hear the sounds. Okay, and that's possible. It's been possible since the 70s. So imagine all the people complaining about hearing voices, okay, or seeing things. You know, you can target the visual cortex and make somebody see something. Because with why? Frequencies. So a lot of these people in times past and even now are targeted and don't even know it, because that's how it's set up. That's the fun for the sociopaths at the top. Oh, haha, we're harassing them, and they don't even know it. They think it's, you know, they don't realize the technology. They think they're going crazy. No, the good news is you're not going crazy. Probably none of you. I mean, mental illness does exist. Now, don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm not trying to say that it doesn't exist. And a lot of times, and I would know, I've worked with a lot, and I'm not only the client. No, look, if I tell you that, you're going to be, no, okay, I have nothing. I think you know. What you see is what you get. And I've heard some feedback, something about being fake. I don't know what that means. I just try to be me. So if you feel like it's fake or whatnot, I don't know what to tell you. This is just me, you know. What you see is what you get. I mean, I do have to adjust my personality sometimes, like, you know, in my type of job. You know, I adjust my bedside manner. You got to be a little bit more professional, a little bit, you know, nobody's the exact same all the time. You know, we're three-dimensional people. You adjust depending on the situation, right? Okay, that doesn't mean you totally flip and do a multiple personality thing, but, you know, you have to adjust. Nobody's 100% of the time the exact same person. And you shouldn't be. Different situations require different, you know, you put on a different hat, so to speak, right? You're talking different with your husband or your kids or your siblings rather than you would with your parent, right? Or your boss. I hope you wouldn't talk to your boss like you talk to your family member, you know. That's like number one rule in power. You have to give, there's a different level of, you know, respect and distance that you give with, you know, those in leadership. I would hope everybody knows that, but okay, whatever. Call it fake or call it you have to adjust, you know. Anyways, I digress. Where are we at here? We're talking about the last phase, which would be the attacks. Yeah, the good news is a lot of people are not crazy. Bad news is there's some severe, harmful technology that's in the hands of people that like to hurt other people. That's the bad news. The good news is you know, what I was going to say about mental illness is a lot of it is treatable. You know, mostly if you get somebody that's upset and, you know, and displaying behaviors, if you treat that person, you know, kindly and get their environment fixed and get their, you know, get them clean or, you know, food and listen to and heard and expressing themselves and, you know, like eventually that you'll see the behaviors of mental illness like decrease and decrease and decrease, and they'll become more and more stable. So, you know, it makes sense. Like, how do you feel when you haven't taken a shower for a couple days, you know, or you're on vacation and you don't have access to all your stuff that you would normally have, you know, just your environment changing or a new school or a new job, you know, those are stress provoking and, you know, they bring out certain behaviors. But once you get settled back in, and once things start getting better, right, healing, humans, we have a natural capacity to be resilient and to heal from things, like severe things, like rapes. You can heal, both physically and emotionally. It's not hard, it's not easy, but you can, because we're made like that. So wondrously made in the image of our Creator. Now that I think about that, it's exciting. Like, wow, like He thought of us too. We're made in the image of the most intelligent being ever. Like, it's amazing. Okay, so I digress, though. We are talking about the last phase. So we talked about mental illness is it's not as much as we think it is, and that a lot of these direct energy weapons can mimic mental illness. So, and that's part of the plan. If you can have an energy weapon, you don't want people knowing it's being used. So then when people complain of the effects, this is happening, well, just say that they're crazy, which is not true. Okay, so my hope is that by summarizing this book, that phenomenon in particular will decrease, because it's not right. And it's not true. It's like living in a fake reality. These people aren't crazy. This technology exists. Come on now. It's 2019. We're not in the 50s anymore. That's why we need to keep educating ourselves on the capabilities of this technology. And it's been wonderfully interesting for me. I suggest you guys do it too. Start with this book. It's real good. There's another doctor. This one is Robert Duncan. He's a PhD. He worked for some of the intelligence agencies, and he has a book called Chptr, The Secrets of Cybernetic Warfare Revealed. So he says the attacks are the result of central nervous system, right? Everything. This central nervous system manipulation. Okay, and he would know. He really would know. He is an engineer. He worked for the intelligence agencies. Oh my goodness. He was on Jesse Ventura, Brain Invaders. Somebody brought that show to my attention. I would have never watched it on my own. I like Jesse Ventura ever since he was a wrestler too. But I just never thought of the show. It never came on or something. I just never caught it. But somebody brought that to my attention, and boy, was that a really good episode. There's a clip in there where Robert Duncan was actually on there as a guest, and he talks about some of the direct energy weapons used. I'll post it on my page. You should, but check it out too. You can find it in YouTube. So yeah, again, this is all done by EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. My favorite word of 2018. Okay, and I'll tell you, I got a new favorite word for 2019. I'll tell you. I will tell you, because it's my new one. It took me a while. When you're picking your favorite word, you have to like really give it consideration. I picked it, and I feel comfortable with it. All right, I feel good in my choice. So, okay, last one. Well, not last one, but what are we talking about here? Electrical disturbances in the home. Okay. Dr. Hall found out that most victims had reports of electrical disturbances in their homes. Remember, because he interviewed like thousands of targeted individuals to get their experiences, and one of the shared experiences was sexual assault, among other things. But one of the things that they were reporting were electrical disturbances in their home. Okay, so some examples he listed were energy modalities being used to open and close garage doors. Okay, turn lights on and off. Let's see, disrupt computer screens. And of course, direct energy can be used to target the actual physical body and the mind, using direct energy weapons of all sorts, okay? And they work off of energy, which is invisible, but so is the spiritual world, right? But if we look at this, things like opening and closing garage doors, turning the lights on and off, and, turning the computer screen on and off, or have it flickering, it even can control plumbing, like with water and stuff like that. And let me tell you how, in a nutshell. Now remember, I'm just a lay person, but I have a general idea. Again, it's electromagnetic frequencies. Okay, the mind, the body, and our whole environment works off of them. Okay, so if you noticed, there had been a push to add smart meters on the outside of every home and every business, in our land. Okay, and those smart meters outside are hooked, are synced with the towers, which are also synced to the satellites, right, orbiting. So, that tells you that if they're satellite-based, that they can be remotely controlled, meaning it's nothing to send in, because the smart meter is going to hook up every outlet in your home or business, to the satellite technology. Okay, so then you figure, well, then it's easy to do. If they want to send a signal into your home to have your light in, your living room or your bedroom turn off, poof, it's just a signal. It was that easy. Okay? Same thing with the garage. Again, it's electrical. There's a smart meter on the house. Send in the signal to the smart meter to send the signal to that area in the house. Poof. Garage opening up and down. I mention this too because when this is happening, and if you don't know the experiences of targeted individuals and organized stalking, and that guinea pigs are used, and if you talk to the wrong people who maybe are not aware, or some people have a built-in mechanism where they can't handle like too much, harmful information because it disrupts their cognitive. Some people, you got to take it really slow. And I'm going to say, I don't mean to be stereotypical, but sometimes the older generation or just people who are not familiar with technology, they have a hard time understanding this kind of stuff. That's okay though. Break it down. Frequencies, EMFs. That's how this can be done. And a lot of times when people are going through this, when they're targeted individuals, they will use this tactic. And this can also be a scary tactic because for people who don't know or who are maybe into, I notice our modern culture, popular media, kind of glorifies like spiritism, scary movies. You have some, oh, did you see that scary movie? No, and I used to be part of it. I understand the pull of it, because it's the spiritual world. It's the unseen world. We want to see in there. We're curious because we're just flesh and blood. You're like, what is going on? What happens? What happens when you die? What happens? What do the spirits do? Are they good? Are they bad? Do they talk? What are they like? We're curious. There's a level of curiosity. That's wonderful. We're made in God's image. We're supposed to be curious about our creator and our other creation, the other creation, the angels. We want to know. And to satisfy that curiosity, I wouldn't suggest watching a scary movie. In fact, I would advise against it. All respect due. But that promotes spiritism. Because all the answers you need pretty much are in your Bible. I digress. Just saying, for those of you who are Christian and the spirit, if you understand the spirit world, there's Jehovah God, and then there's the angels, and then there's the angels who rebelled. Third of them, right, hurled to earth with Satan. So those, categories exist, right? Good and evil. It truly is that kind of battle. But did you read about, I thought I read about this, of course, angels and Jehovah, obviously, they operate on different frequencies than we do, okay? So you remember I told you as humans, each organ, each body part, each, brain, thought, and emotion has a different frequency. Well, so does the spirit realm, okay? They operate, a lot of times in the Bible, if you read accounts about like, people, having contact with angels, both good and bad. And then also like sometimes when Jehovah speaks to you, like there's been, like they always describe him as being really bright, like a bright light that like Moses couldn't even look upon him, like the burning bush and everything. Just because, and then, just like light and just being really bright, and I'm trying to think, like so much so where us humans can't even absorb it. And I believe that's because their frequencies are different. They're either higher or lower. I'm assuming higher. Okay, so they're operating at such a high frequency that we're not, that we couldn't absorb we couldn't be in their presence when they're at their full, sense of being, consciousness, because we're humans, we're flesh and blood, and we operate off of frequencies too, but not to that degree. So anyways, what I want to say is if you're getting harassment, and I've read this, if you're getting like spiritual harassment from the demons, the bad angels, and their ruler, Lucifer, and again, you can believe it or not, but I'm telling you, the people who print your money, believe it. You look on your dollar bill, okay, for those of us in the U.S., and there is a picture of the pyramid with an eye in it, okay, that is the eye of Horus. I don't mean to show that sign, but that's what it looks like. Look on your dollar bill. So you might not believe it, but the people who own the world and print your money sure do, so that should tell you something, okay? So I'm just saying that could also be, since the spirit world operates at a higher frequency or a different frequency, that can change that can affect your environment. So if they're there uninvited, maybe you invited them in unintentionally. Maybe you were up all night watching that new scary movie thinking it was cool. Ooh, now guess what? Guess who else loves scary movies? Not the good angels. I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but let's just be real. Okay, the good angels do not want to sit around with you and watch scary movies. Why? Because they're unholy. The good angels don't want to be around that. It's like if you got friends who smoke crack, you know what I mean? You don't, your other friends ain't going to want to be around them. Like, oh, no, nuh-uh, they're doing crack. I can't be around that. I'm not. Same thing with the good angels. If you are doing stuff that's drawing in spiritism and, you know, with the bad angels, the good angels don't want to be around that. They won't. They're holy and they will not. Okay, so be careful, because when you draw unholiness into your environment, you're going to draw the unholy angels. And they do not mean you well. They mean you harm. They mean all of us harm. Okay, they're very angry. They're going to be destroyed. I'm digressing, but you understand this is serious. You know, I can't really skirt around the issue and talk about everything else but the spiritual battle, because it's very much a spiritual battle. It's, you know, it's everybody in the pyramid. So might as well, like I said, Jehovah's at the very top of that pyramid. You know, Satan thinks he's at the top of the human pyramid because he's given power by Jehovah, but Jehovah's always on the top, and then you got your good angels and da 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 da. Correct? So I'm trying to not be religiously biased here, but you know, I'm a Christian, and I know some people are like, see, no, hey, I do love Jehovah and I do love Jesus Christ. So that is what it is. And that's how that works. So with the angelic and Jehovah, they operate at different frequencies. So if you are being targeted, and since this is obviously Jehovah and the good angels would not target you. If you did something wrong, they would tell you and you would be punished appropriately, and that would be that. Okay? You know, Jehovah's very loving like that and fair. He would punish you still, but he would tell you why. Just like if you have a child, you're not gonna, if you spank them or if you have to punish them, you're gonna tell them why. You know, you did something wrong and you need to learn your lesson, and then, you know, you do it, you know, and it's painful, but then you're done, and then the person understands, and then you move on, and healing and love covers over a multitude of sins. That's Jehovah, and the good angels operate on that, okay? Satan and the demons do not. They like to revel in depravity just for depravity's sake. So what I'm saying is, if you're getting harassed, it won't be Jehovah and the angels, but if you're drawing spiritism in somehow, or maybe you don't even have to be drawing it in, I'm not blaming you. Long story short, they have the ability to affect frequencies because they are made, obviously, of frequencies. So it's nothing for them to turn off your lights, turn on your garage, turn on the water. So it's a spiritual and a, you know, electronic issue and a human issue. So if you're having electronic disturbances in your home, it could be a spiritual problem, you know, that you need to pray to Jehovah for help, and to, you know, he comes. Those demons will run. They will scatter like cockroaches when you call on the name of the true God. Okay, so remember that. There's always a solution. And then also it could be that some human or some spiritism is manipulating your frequencies in your home, and that will cause electrical disturbances. So don't get freaked out, because a lot of targeted individuals experience this. In fact, I had an experience like that of my own recently, and I can't figure out which one it was. Doesn't matter, because it's one and the same. I mean, if it's wicked humans doing it with electronics, or if it's wicked spirits doing it with their own built-in electronic frequency adjusters. Whatever, don't care. Pray to God, and it was done. So there you go. Just wanted to cover that. All right, so guinea pigs. This book, once again, it states how people are chosen to be guinea pig. They are chosen and monitored until their natural death occurs. Many victims can be drawn into suicide by their perps, okay? Watch out for that. Sometimes the perps want to free up extra time for new contracted targets. Okay, oh, we've run this target to the ground. Now we want fresh meat, right? Those zombies, fresh brains. Okay, and they would prefer the current target just die off. Like, oh, come on, you know, we're done, just die. Okay, your job is to not die. So, and many times targeted individuals lose so much during this whole targeting that they can feel defeated. You know, because that's what the program is trying to do. It's targeting you. You know, you're no longer your own person, what they want you to believe. You are your target, you know. You're no longer your person. Hi, I'm Sherry. No, you're not your target. That's not true. You know, it's not true. But make sure that you understand that, okay? You know, Dr. Hall himself, he's a really good example of that, because, you know, he was targeted. So now you know, yes, he's a targeted individual. And he actually, you understand, doctors, I mean, they have to carry licenses. They have to, you know, a surgeon at that, you know, I mean, he has to have all his licenses and everything and ducks in an order. And they were targeting him, like trying to accuse him of things and trying to drag down his career that he had worked so hard for. Doctors have to go through a lot of schooling, you know, to get to where they're at. So, but he survived it. You know, that's why this book is so good. So good. He's a good example. You can survive it too if you're part of this, or if you ever become part of it, which again, I said, the goal is mass mind control. You know, so this is not just for a few people. You know, it always happens to other people. It could easily happen to you. It can, and it does. New people are being added every day, and every quarter especially. So yeah. And again, you know, my personal opinion, we're never defeated, and we can rely on the grace of God, if nothing else. nothing else, we always have that. Doesn't matter who's against us. If God is for us, he sits at the top of that pyramid. Very top. So, just be resilient, though. Be resilient, because, you know, they're going to try to break you down. Right? We talked about all that. I want to talk to you about the drug addiction scam. Okay, so the drug addiction scam, because you know perps, they'll lie about who they are, they're working for agencies, they're really not, they're this person, they're that person, they want to defame your character, they'll say outright lies against you, this woman is a whore. I mean, how can you be a whore if you haven't even had sex with anybody for like almost 3 years? You know, that would kind of, I thought a whore was you're being promiscuous, you know, or acting like a whore. You can't really be a whore if you're not engaging in sexual activity, am I right? Assaults don't really count, you know, because that's not you engaging in it, that's somebody else assaulting you. But they will do that, you know, so they have a lot of little tricks, because again, it's psyops, psychological operations, attacking the brain, attacking the mind, trying to break you down, because you're a target, okay, in their eyes. Jehovah loves you, but to them, you're a target for whatever reason. Probably maybe because Jehovah loves you, and you love him. That can make you a target. Who are you, goody two-shoes? You got your nerve. So, yeah, drug addiction scam. The perps will sometimes pull this. The doctor went through this. The book talks about it. Actually, he has 2 books, but I think, I don't know if the experience is in both of the books, but yeah, he talks about it in detail I think in his other book, but he mentions it in this one too. So what they do is they sneakily put illicit drugs into a person's food or drinks, because remember that stage where they're selecting you and then they surveillance you and then they stalk you? Well, during the surveillance stage, that's when they're going out spreading gossip about your name, and they're pretending to be other people, or they're getting their corrupt intelligence agencies and detectives and private investigating agencies to, you know, talk to your landlord and your neighbors and all that. So they could be breaking in your home, recruit your neighbor, you know, pay him off or whatever. You know, remember, this is group organized. And so at that point, when they're doing that, they have access to your home. They can, and remember, this is paramilitary, which is cops, sheriffs, deputies, you know, state troopers, and military, ex-military. You know, those people are trained to kill. Come on now. They got skills. They know how to survive. I heard in one of the things, they leave them out in the desert with a backpack, or in the rainforest with a backpack, and tell them to, like, go from point A to point D in 3 days with no help, you know, with just their backpack. So they know how to survive. You know, it's cool. You know, they should. But I'm saying, these are the kind of people with this skill sets that are hired to attack you when you're a targeted person. Some of them are your local neighborhood perps, you know, but for the bigger stuff, you know, home entering and all that, that's many times, you know, it's done, you can see, in an organized fashion by people who know what they're doing. Or sometimes they might, you know, just talk to your landlord, and your landlord will give your dumb neighbor a key, and your neighbor will come in and, you know, they give him the drugs, and then he just, you know, puts it in there. So, you know, because you're not home, you're at work all day, most of us. So yeah, and when at this point they can do that, that's a drug addiction scam. Then they try to frame the person, the targeted individual, as a drug addict, okay? And this is their combo move, in which they try to destroy the career of a target or get them diagnosed as mentally ill or imprisoned so that they can have full access to their guinea pig. So be careful about that. Also, too, well, you guys can kind of put the story together. I don't want to always have to, like, point everything out, but you can just imagine, if they're doing this kind of stuff to a targeted person, what's to say that they wouldn't try to use a drug addiction scam on a grander scale, you know, with some type of, you know, do this treatment, you know, and we'll give you X amount of dollars or whatever. And what kind of treatment are you getting? You know, what is that? Is it helping you, or are they giving you more? Are they giving you a more addictive substance, you know? I always thought that, because I used to be a smoker, you know, and I used to enjoy it. I come from a smoking family. My great-grandparents owned a bar. My grandpa was in the military. You know, my grandma, they smoked, whatever. They were like, I don't know, my grandpa went to the bars sometimes, you know, whatever. That was his thing sometimes. And my grandma, you know, whatever, did her thing, went to bingo and, you know, enjoyed her life, enjoyed her kids, and they liked to smoke. They smoked, and they drank soda, and they drank some beer sometimes, you know. And a lot of my aunts and uncles, most of them, still smoke. Excuse me. One of my aunts quit smoking. She said she had a dream about getting lung cancer, and she was able to quit smoking. And same thing with me. And a couple of my mother was a smoker, not a heavy one though ever, but you know, she was a smoker. Both of her parents were, all her brothers and sisters were. So it's a learned behavior, you know. And but I was able to quit, and I enjoyed it. I smoked for many years, and I was able to quit. And I always thought of maybe doing like that vape thing, you know. And I thought, oh, that would be. But then I thought to myself, well, what the heck? I'm trying to not take in any more chemicals with the cigarette, so why vape? Because you're still taking in chemicals, different kinds, but there's still chemicals that don't really belong in there, right? They were supposed to be in there. God would have put them in there. Not judging. I'm just saying. So, you know, if you're trying to get over like a drug addiction and you're have to using another drug to get over that drug addiction, I understand the science behind it a little bit. Just be aware though, you know, that you don't want to be somebody's guinea pig. Name of this book, all right, Chapter 8, Targeted Individuals. We're almost done. We talked about the drug addiction scam. Now I would like to talk about the stalker laws. This is one, and this will be the last thing that we'll cover. We're at an hour and a half here. Stalker laws. Dr. Hall mentions that the stalking and defamation phases are the time to intervene and bring the operation to a halt. Okay, so early on. The doctor brings out that many times people are in fear because they believe they're being pursued by a legitimate investigative agency. So they don't report on this crime or pursue action. And I know that to be true. In my case, I thought I was being like, you know, well, I won't get into it too much, but I really did think it was a legitimate investigative agency. You know, like the FBI or something was actually, you know, realize now that I'm looking on it, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes more sense. So, and then to top it off, many states have weak anti-stalking laws that are not easily enforced. So Texas has taken the lead in a 2011 with a bill written by state legislator Jane Nelson and Judith Zaffirini that was passed into law. So good for them. This bill was written after a woman complained of being stalked to the Bexar County Sheriff's Department and was written off as mentally ill. Okay, long story short, her stalker ended up forcing her to write a suicide letter and to cut her own wrists. Scary, right? She survived that, but was largely ignored by the agencies that she went to for help that could have helped her. Several months later, her stalker followed her to work and murdered her in the parking lot. After all this, she went to report it. This man held me hostage, made me write a suicide letter, and cut my own wrist. She survived that by the grace of God. Several months later, he was still stalking her, followed her to work, and murdered her in the darn parking lot. Imagine that, your last day on earth in a parking lot at work by some stalker. So, that's sad. So according to the new law, a restraining order can now be issued against an alleged stalker without first proving bodily injury to that person. Okay. Furthermore, the definition of stalking has been changed to make the charge easier to put forth. This law was changed for Christy Appleby. The author states, an organized effort should be undertaken to force every state to follow suit in altering their stalking rules. Okay. So the perps are taking advantage of the lack of legislation. They know there's no laws and they're just having a heyday with it. Time to stop it. For all of us. Remember, we're all only about 1 degree away from a person that could, stalk us or put us on that unofficial guinea pig list, okay? And our lives and our careers would be destroyed and we could be assaulted, you know? So rest in peace, Christy Appleby. That's really sad that she had to end up dying because of that. You know, which is another thing I talked about in another video, how online stalking leads to in-person assault because they get tired. They see your face online, and newscasters, particularly female broadcasters, have a problem of getting stalked. They have like the highest rates of stalking in the United States, and that's because the people who get obsessed with them are seeing their face every day, all the time. You get to know them, right? Or when somebody's stalking, they think they know the person better than they actually do, and they end up stalking them in person because they get tired of just seeing them online. I want to meet you. I want to see you in person. They think they're in love with you and this and that. And sometimes it can be fatal. Okay, so Christy Appleby, that was a law put forth into place. All right, corruption at all levels. We talked about that. It occurs. So, there can be participation by corrupt law enforcement at federal and local levels. This does occur. Not everybody engages in this behavior, but some certainly do, as past cases have shown us. People in uniform are just people, and they have their flaws like the rest of us. There is a Judas, I think, that sneaks into every organization and group of people, no matter what. Okay, so like here, I know, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we had a firefighter arrested for possessing kitty pornography. His wife actually turned him in. There was a cop arrested for hiring, again, stalking a woman that didn't want anything to do with him. She refused his advances, which we have the right to do, man or woman. If you don't want to be with somebody, you're not entitled to. But I guess the cop took it personally, and he hired some local gangs to help him stalk a woman. Okay, and he was, in exchange for them stalking the woman, he was tipping them off to things in the community, you know, to that, so that they wouldn't get arrested. You know, hey, there's going to be a raid this day. Don't go there. You know, don't be there. Remove your product and da da da. You know, working in cahoots with the local gangs in exchange for them stalking a woman that refused him. So that kind of stuff happens, and I know because it happened right here in our city, the MKE. All right. Also, too, there was a sheriff's department. I think this was in Florida. Don't quote me. It was somewhere in the United States. Anyways, the sheriff's department, there was a deputy arrested for having a date rape drug, possession of it, and he was distributing it. He would have it delivered to his in-laws' house. And some of the people they found out he was distributing it to were people in his own field, other law enforcement officers, other deputies. I mean, these are date rape drugs. What do you think they were doing with the date rape drugs, everybody? What were they doing? Why would you get a date rape drug that affects your acetylcholine, that, you know, stops that chemical from forming so people will have no memory of being raped or assaulted? Why would you be just ordering that drug? To rape people, of course. And these are law enforcement people. Very scary, you know? Where were they using it at? Who were they using it on? You know, there's probably stories. There's stories. But this is why we're talking about it. Okay, so just corruption can happen at all levels. In the book, Dr. Hall states how one of his own friends was called in for questioning at the local FBI. This is the real FBI, because remember, sometimes those that private investigator was trying to say he was with the FBI, which he was, but he wasn't. You know, he was retired, but he was still representing that he was with them. No, this was the actual real one. Go figure. I wonder how did they know each other? What do you think? Well, I don't know. Who knows, right? Coinkydink? No, coincident, not coincidence. Coincident. Meaning purposeful, I think. So so the doctor's friends was called in for questioning at the local FBI office and questioned her extensively about this book, or his other book, Satellite Terrorism in America, which is also a very good book. And then they told her afterwards that after they sat there and grilled her, they told her there was no official investigation and that she would do well to stop communicating with him. As of the writing of the book Guinea Pig, he was not questioned by the agent directly. So when he was writing it, he had never gotten approached by the FBI person. You think if you're under investigation, at some point they're going to approach you. Nope, they only approached his friend. Told her she'd do well to stop communicating with him. All right, so pretty nefarious. But you know, the FBI was charged on that with the COINTEL program that they were doing. You know, found guilty of trying to usurp First Amendment rights, preventing free speech and right to associate. So nothing new. Good defenses. So how are we going to stop this? What can you do to defend yourself? Some good defenses against defamation. Know your neighbors well and try to live a good life. You know, despite stalking and attacks, targeted individuals should do their best to function normally. You know, so which is hard. I mean, I know that in my case, you know, being sexually assaulted and sleep deprived, you know, you're tired, you look bad, you're like, oh my goodness, you know, you lost your regular housing, you're living in a place that, you know, maybe is not the best neighborhood or not, you know, you don't even have your own bathroom and your own, I mean, you know, it's stressful, it's taxing, but, you know, you have to continue on. You got to still try to, you know, you have to function as best as you can. So, you got to fight the fight, right? Continue on in life. Go to worship, go to school, go to work, you know, eat healthy, have healthy relationships as much as possible, because they're going to try to send a lot of perps into your life. Like, I can say recently that I met someone and went out with him, you know, just a movie and you know, eating. It wasn't anything, you know, extra, but, I don't know if when I got home, because I didn't bother to check my bag where I keep my wallet, but sometime between the day I went out and, you know, hours later, I was missing my whole wallet. As of today, I haven't been able to have access to my direct deposit paycheck, you know, so I've been having to borrow money from family and friends, and they don't even have money, you know, and not to mention in my purse was my ID and my social security card, you know, everything. Sometimes when and $5, when you lose the wallet, it's not the money. You know, I would rather whoever it was, I can't figure out if it was the guy I went out with or if it was one of my neighbors, you know, because by the time I noticed that it was missing, I had been home for a little while. So I don't know who did that, but yeah. So So despite this, though, I'm continuing, right? I'm gonna keep doing the videos. Gonna keep living life. You gotta fight the fight, right? They try to break you. You know, what are you gonna do if you can't have access to your money? And that would have really sucked if I was going out for New Year's or something, or, you know, needed to pay my rent, which I do, you know, and buy things, which I do, like food, you know, like transportation fees and all that to get to and from work. But that's this program. So just your defenses are to survive and cope with it anyways, okay? So, and now more than ever, you need support, and the community is where you're going to get it somehow, some way. So be careful. Make sure you keep those relationships healthy and positive, which is hard to do because they're going to, like all these tactics, psyops, they're going to try to break you down. Yeah, be cautious too about telling people who are not familiar with what you're going through. To the average person not familiar with the technology or the extent of harassment and non-consensual experimentation, this experience can sound incredulous, because it is, you know. So it is. It sounds crazy. It sounds like, what? They can read our minds, and they're following you, and they're sabotaging your house, and, you know, yeah. It's a psychological operations. It's warfare. So yeah, I mean, I imagine if you got a chance to hear those soldiers tell you what they do when they go overseas and fight the fight, you know, you'd be horrified. That's why a lot of times they won't talk about it with regular civilians. Did you notice? Right? We have that little don't ask, don't tell type of etiquette. They'll talk about it amongst each other probably, but even then, you know, it's because it's so incredulous, probably the things that are done, you know. So find, you know, take a cue from them. You know, find people who listen and who get it. Smart people usually. And I'm not saying anybody is not smart or dumb, but some people have more of a cognitive dissonance propensity towards, you know, like don't want to see, right? Like the dinosaur in Toy Story. I forget his name, but he was like, he'd always hide his head. He's like, I can't handle confrontation. That poor guy, you know? So just be careful. If you are going to share with people like that, just understand they're more sensitive. They need more time. They have to really digest this scary, intense, incredulous information. Some people are going to get it right away. Like, oh yeah, I knew they do that. And they might have their own example. Oh, did you hear this? And, you know, so just when you're talking, because you're going to want to talk about it at some point, because it is so incredulous and it's stressful, you know, as humans, we have to share and make it a, you know, shared experiences. So just be careful. Find the right people to talk to about it so that you get the right responses. Because if you're trying to tell somebody who's scared and they don't want to hear it, well, then that's going to make you more frustrated because they're not listening and you need them to listen. So there's 8 billion people in the world. Okay, I think that for dating too. If this one don't want you, find another one who does. Okay, same thing with this. If you wanted to share your experience, if this person doesn't get it or doesn't want to get it or, you know, is not ready to get it, move it on. Find somebody who does. Find people online, right? Look, there should be more videos like this. You know, find each other. So that'll help you. Don't waste your time. What else? So, Dr. Hall recommends. Dr. Hall. Well, I have to quote my source, right? Anyways, the author recommends, and I agree, to try to stop abusing alcohol or illicit drugs. It can be used against you, and it makes you foggy. And if you're going to be foggy and you're a targeted individual, it's going to work against you. It's dangerous. You know, you're not sharp. You're not at your best. You know, this book mentions how certain factions of the government have targeted drug abusers for mind control experiments, you know, and have been ever since the early MK days. Because many times they're used, they're easy to discredit, right? So imagine trying to tell this tale, like Dr. Hall is doing, of non-consensual experimentation with the focus on mind control that uses satellite-based technology with mind-reading capabilities. Okay, imagine trying to explain all that. It's hard enough for a doctor. It's hard enough for a regular layman person to do it. You know, physicists, engineers, people who have actually worked for the agencies, you know, even they get people that are a little bit unbelieving sometimes because it's such incredulous. You know, we don't want to believe it, but it is. So imagine how much more so, though, if you're having a drug abuse or alcohol abuse problem. You know, what's the first thing society likes to say? Oh, they're a drunkard. Oh, they're a drug addict. They're on crack, you know, and right away, boom, then they discredit you. So, you know, we do that as a society because we don't want to be duped, you know, and we figure if somebody's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, they might not be, you know, they might not be in their right faculties to be telling us anything. So, you know, be careful if you are using drugs or alcohol. Try to stop. You know, I mean, alcohol is a little good every once, you know, now and then. I'm not trying to preach to you, but just, you know, in balance, and just be aware that, you know, there are programs that target, you know, vulnerable people. And when you're addicted to a substance, drugs or alcohol, you are more vulnerable, and they know that, okay? And they they will come for you. You know, they're coming for all of us. But I'm just saying, if you want to have good defenses, you know, you can't be imagined it's a zombie world out there, right? You know, Walking Dead, everybody's a zombie. How are you going to run? How are you going to think? How are you going to, you know, be in the game if you're foggy and if you're, you know, you're drunk or you're, you know, I had a few. Well, you had a few, but now you're freaking pretty buzzed, which is okay some of the time. But if you find yourself doing it somewhere, you know, if you're abusing drugs, like, oh no, now you can't even run. You're, you know, you're nodding off, or you're, you know, you're on crack. You can't, your environment's already weird and you can't distinguish. Just be careful for yourself. This is warfare. You want to be a smart, strong soldier. You can't be a good soldier if your brain's foggy. They're already trying to foggy our brains. They're trying to make us have the you know, the effects of being drug or alcohol, you know, affecting our minds with technology. And then if you're doing it to yourself with drugs or alcohol, you're making it easier for them, you know? So be careful, because they will target people that are, you know, have abuse problems. Sad, but they will. So be aware, okay? Let's see, what else? Okay, conclusion. Let's have the conclusion here, right? We're at hour and 45 minutes. Let's be done, shall we? I'm tired of hearing myself talk. It's been fun, though. I'm going to do another one. I just need a little break, you know? It's been great. Plus, I got to figure out how to get my money, you know, my landlord's. And I showed him, you know, I have my check. I just can't get it because I had to cancel the card because either that Mr. Wonderful or one of my neighbors, you know, one perps, probably has my wallet or whatever, took it and threw it in the garbage or whatever, you know, psyops. So I need to focus on that for a moment, but I'll be back. You know, the month of January, we're going to do a lot of stuff. I'm not stopping. We're just, we're done with this book for now. And I think, you know, I think we covered the main chapter. So buy it, you know. So the conclusion, for those of you who enjoyed this 4-chapter summary of the book Guinea Pigs by Dr. John Hall, thanks for taking the time to check it out and to check out my video. I thank you so much, because I know your time is valuable. And so is the information here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can benefit from it. I know you can benefit from it. So I hope you're educated and thoroughly informed as I was after having read the book. If you get a chance to read it, go ahead. With books like this, the hidden agendas that seek to control us are not so hidden anymore. Same thing for this video. I brought out a lot of stuff, you know, for you guys that was brought out to me. So remember, we're not ignorant of Satan's designs. The book itself is pretty inexpensive if you have Kindle, which I highly recommend. I think I'll do a video on Kindle use. It's wonderful. And they give you 10 free books when you first sign up. And it's only like $10 a month. So for readers, it's a good one. And a lot of the ebooks are small and quick to read. So they got wonderful stuff on there. So yeah, if you get this book, his Guinea Pigs on Kindle, Amazon, it is $7.99. Or you can get it free if you sign up. It can be one of your free 10 books, you know, and his other book. Otherwise, if you order a hard copy, it's $10 to $20. You can order it through Amazon. It'll be shipped right away. Otherwise, you can also, you know, call your local bookstore. Sometimes the library will order it specially for you if they don't have a copy. They'll order one for you sometimes. I know that they have this capability. They've done it for me a few times. So Mr. Hall also has videos. If you get a chance to check out any of his videos, I think he just got an award because for a movie that he did. It was like a something. I'm sorry, I don't want to misquote it right now. I'll post it, okay? So you can see what I'm talking about. But he's very talented. He's a surgeon. He's busy, so he is moving and shaking and helping people. So good for him. He's got lots of videos out there with different radio interviews, different podcast interviews with different people. So check them out. Let's see. So yeah, I tried to summarize the most important information on this history of mind control and non-consensual testing, the remote neural monitoring, Chapter 4, organized stalking, Chapter 6, and targeted individuals. This is the last one today, Chapter 8. I will do a separate video on the technology used in sexual assaults. Okay, so you can kind of understand it a little bit more. So, yeah, the book speaks on how these MK projects are usually headed. Again, we talked about the pyramid, deep pocket corporations, and factions of the government, including the military-industrial complex, big one, along with medical researchers. They test their high-tech gadgets to fine-tune their tools of mind control so that soon it can be used upon the masses to help modify human behaviors and exert complete control over the population. All right. The chapters go into detail about the continual history since World War II until today, with complete examples of the projects ran on people and the tactic of using organized stalking on targeted individuals to destroy their lives, marriages, careers, and health, and in some cases, you know, suiciding them or killing them. Much of the reason these programs are going unchecked is because of the unawareness of how big a threat this issue is. It's a threat. Okay, as far as the plan of action goes, we need to first educate ourselves with things like this, watching through these videos, and very quickly we need to demand ethical behavior on the part of our elected leaders. So legislation, we need to help each other. It's the only way we're going to get out of this. So Mr. Hall has given so much valuable information, and he's made clear an important issue through his experience and his thorough research and simple way of stating the facts. I may cover more chapters in the future, but it won't be for a while because there's some other books I want to get to. So I'll also be posting a vocabulary review for those of you who are interested, you know, with favorite words like EMFs. Oh, my new favorite word for 2019. What is it? Well, hold on. Let's see here. Okay, so good news, bad news. Good news, we're not going crazy. Bad news, we got dangerous technology in the hands of psychopaths. All right, hey, good and bad. The perps will be on the prowl. Beware of disinfoers. Disinfoers are people who perps who try to give disinformation. Okay, so when you're looking, when you're researching, if whatever you decide to research, be careful that there are going to be some people out there that are purposely giving out misinformation, disinformation, to throw you off the track. You know, Satan, it's a game of deception, so be careful. Be cautious of that. So, yeah. First quarter 2019, big funding, trillions of dollars spent on mind control technology and guinea pigs. Let's put up a bit of a fight, shall we? Come on now, spread the word. And watch those. Watch Dr. Hall's videos, would you? Watch my old videos too. I'm gonna repost them on my social media. If you're interested, if you are, my social media is Sherry Vibe with me. That's SHERRY, and then the word vibe as in vibrations, which is VIBE, with me. Get it? Vibe with me. Come on my page. Check it out. Vibe with me. Just don't troll me. Well, you know what? Troll me if you want to. That's fine. You're still going to get the information. But for those of you really interested, I invite you. Please, friend request me if you want. If you want. If not, if you just want to look, I usually make everything public because, you know, it's important information. I might not always, you know, as time goes on, I might just keep it, you know, a little more private. So if you want to request me, go ahead. I welcome you. Okay. Otherwise, check it out. So yeah, I guess what was I going to say? Yeah, we got to thank Dr. Hall so much for writing this book and giving us valuable insight and sharing his unique experiences and thorough research. This book is truly one for the ages. It takes a phenomenon with the ability to destroy lives and breaks it down, allowing it to be understood and how to survive it, okay? If you don't need this book now, okay, life might be good now, it's fine, but things can change, you know? We are, like I said, this is mass mind control. You know, it's flattering to think, okay, Sherry, maybe it's just for you. Yeah, no, trillions, I mean, I'm flattered, but trillions of dollars in mind control technology, I'm sorry, guys. It was not just created for Sherry, okay? As much as, you know, thank you for thinking of me in that high regard. But no, it wasn't created just for me. There's guinea pigs, and don't make the mistake of thinking that you can never be a guinea pig. That's what I thought. I didn't realize the extent of this program either, and that could be a mistake, underestimating. You know, don't ever underestimate, okay? So, remember, trillions of dollars being pumped for mass mind control, not just a few. All right. So you never know when you or somebody else you know or love might need to know the information in this book. Okay. Like I said, $7.99 on Kindle, 10 or 20 for a hard copy. Or check out your local library. Give them a call. Google's a number, you know. Just say, hey, do you got the book Guinea Pigs by Dr. John Hall? They'll say yay or nay. And then be like, just ask them, do you think, you know, is it possible to order it? Because I know the library can do that, you know. They can order it from all over the United States. They're interconnected, right? Well, of course. Come on. They're all satellite stuff. We're all interconnected with everything. It's wonderful when you know, as a tool. And it can be dangerous also. So, Yeah, it's this book is surprisingly easy and it's a quick read. It's about 4 hours in total. Not saying that you can sit down at one time and spend 4 hours. Maybe some of you can, but you know, whatever, just chunk it out. An hour here, an hour there. You know, maybe it might take you a couple months, depending. It's very personal. How you read your books at what pace and what's the purpose is up to you. But I found that is interesting depending on your interest level, which this is going to interest everybody because everybody has a mind and everybody can and will be a guinea pig at some point. So read it. Educate yourself. Buy the book. Come on. Show him some appreciation for all that. He went through a lot to get this information out to us. He really did. So, and him and others like him. And so we really have to be appreciative because, you know, he was actually shot at in his home. So, you know, this is just because people don't tell you everything they go through. The fact that these programs exist, and I explained to you the power pyramid hierarchy, it's serious business, you know. So when people are trying to get information to you, you know, show some appreciation a little bit. Thank you guys for watching. I know your time is valuable. It is. I know. Who has 2 hours to sit and watch something? Remember, a way to do it too is to chunk it out with YouTube. They have that option, save for later, watch later. I do that now as a study technique. If I look at the time of a video right away before I even sit down to watch it, then I watch a few minutes and see if it's worth it. And then, you know, I'll figure out how much time. Even before I sit down, I try to figure out how much time. I'm single with no husband, so I actually have a lot of time, probably more time than the average person to do stuff like this. But, you know, my time is limited too. I still have to work and I have other things I have to do. But that, you know, that option of save and watch later is a great option. And just remember where you were at in the video. You know, okay, I'm into 15 minutes. All right, come back. You know, whenever, then you know to start at the 15 minutes. Or I think YouTube is really neat. It'll pause it where you stopped watching it. So, but yeah, so thanks for spending your time. Thank you. It's valuable. Read that book and the solution. So the problem, again, just to reiterate, advanced technology is being abused. And we have the laws are back in the 1950s technology, but the technology is 2019 advanced with things like remote neural monitoring, the capability to read thoughts. I mean, the laws have to catch up, but they're not going to. Why? Because that power hierarchy. They don't want us to get caught up, right? It's easier to abuse your guinea pigs if your guinea pigs are unaware and not fighting back, right? So our solution is twofold. We need to be aware, which is what we're doing with things like this. Investment of time, okay, but it's good time spent because now you know information that you didn't have before, okay. And then we need to get on it and get on the ball and have some new laws. Bring this to our legislators' attention because they're going to be affected by it too, you know, at some point. No matter how high they are in the hierarchy, they can become a guinea pig as well, and even more so sometimes. Like I said, you have good people in bad people in every organization. So not all politicians are bad. Not all politicians are good. There's, you know, you're good and bad, and we need to reach out to the good ones because they too could become victims at some point. And, you know, you read stories, you hear things happening. They really know because they're closer up to that top part in the pyramid. So politicians get it, okay? So we need to bend their ear a little bit. Let them know that we know. Maybe they already know and they're wanting us to know so we can help them, right? Maybe they want to bring this bill, you know, forward, but maybe they can't because they don't have the public support behind them, right? So we need to help our good leaders, okay? And obviously we depend on God first, and what we can do, we want to help our good leaders. Otherwise, where are we going to be at? What other weapons do we have? Okay, so awareness and new legislation. And yeah, I don't know, guys. Welcome to 2019, huh? Thank you for listening. This is exactly 2 hours. Appreciate your time. Oh, and one last thing. So we covered the 6 phases of targeting. And just to give this a closure, I'm going to show you the back end of the book. Actually, no. Yeah, okay, I am. This is, we're done. We're done. How sad. It was nice. It was fun, you know? Ta-da! The back of the book, Guinea Pigs. There's a picture of Dr. John Hall. Yeah? Look, oh my goodness, he's got a guitar. Wow. Seems like a nice guy. You'll read the book. I think you'll get a lot of information from it. Show him some love. Get that book on Kindle, right? Check it out for yourself. That's it. Chapter 8, Targeted Individuals. Done with that book. Now I'm gonna start a new one. Which one? I don't know, but we'll see. In the meantime, you know, keep doing your research. Keep it up. You got lots of new subjects, right? EMFs. New word for 2019 for me, psychotronic weapons. Psychotronics, that means energy weapons that assault the mind. That's my new word. Now you got it. Okay? In case you ever think that they would not experiment on you, I just want to bring your attention again. The 1919 to 1922 testicular transplants. You got people Carrie Buck legally sterilized against her will. You got cancer experiments on Puerto Rican subjects, radiation experiments. What else? Dr. Stokes from the University of Pennsylvania deliberately infected 200 female prisoners with viral hepatitis. Psychopharmacological experiments on prisoners under contract with the U.S. Army. Mentally disabled children at Willowbrook School deliberately infected with hepatitis to find a vaccine. The Tuskegee experiment. On and on and on and on. So, non-consensual experimentation is done, always has been done, always will be done. We need to protect ourselves and let them know that we're aware and we're not going to put up with it, and they need to back it up. We got to fight. It's that simple. Okay, otherwise we're sitting ducks. And I don't know about you, but I like my brain and my free will. And I think a lot of us do, don't we? All right. I don't want to keep saying anymore. I think this is a good place to leave off. All right. This is it. Chapter 8, Chapter 8, Targeted Individuals was the name of the chapter, a book, Guinea Pigs by Dr. John Hall. Watch some of his videos if you can. See me on Facebook. It's nothing special. You know, just share your vibe with me. It's kind of interesting, though. And I appreciate your time. Your time is valuable. You are valuable. Remember that. You guys are smart. And appreciate your time this Saturday. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be done, and I'm glad that we spent this time together. Okay? Have a good weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.